It is a momentous occasion. Today we're going into North Dakota for the first time ever. We are going to see the world's largest buffalo, the tallest TV antenna, the Geographical Center of North America, Earth Lodges, Scandinavian heritage, an Enchanted Highway, and eventually the Badlands. As we continue,
Driving to the west, into the sunset, driving to the west. I'm riding in my RV, wherever I want to be. 'Cause I'm free in my RV.
greetings from Fargo, North Dakota. The main reason we're here, I gotta pick up some packages, get a new set of tires, and an oil change.
Now that everything with the Colorado has been taken care of, let's go explore.
Surprise, surprise. I made a slight change of plan. And this is the thing. I thought like the whole ordeal with the doing the maintenance on the Colorado was gonna take all day, and it took 45 minutes. With car dealerships, you never know.
Head east on Roger Maris Drive toward Lindenwood Bike Path.
Yeah, she keeps telling me what to do. By the way, Fargo here, maybe in the dead of winter, as the stereotypes would suggest, is probably a dreadful place. But here in summer, it's beautiful, flowers everywhere, and it's...
Take the next right onto 18th Avenue South.
It seems like a very nice city, actually. So far, people are super nice. Unfortunately, we're not gonna get to see much of Fargo this time around. Today is just going to be a day trip, about 100 miles towards the center of the state, to see a couple of things that would have been really out of the way otherwise. And taking advantage of the fact that I encountered probably the most efficient Chevy dealer in the whole country so far. They really over-delivered, and remember that noise my muffler was making? That annoying vibration? It's gone! They must have done something and they didn't even tell me. I like North Dakota already, and I don't know if you've noticed, but it is really flat around here. They were not kidding.
Driving to the west, into the sunset, driving to the west. Driving to the west, into the sunset, driving to the west. Driving to the west, into the sunset, driving to the west. Driving to the west, into the sunset, driving to the west. Driving to the west.
All of a sudden, it is not as flat anymore now, is it? As we start approaching the western half of the state. There are several lakes around this area as well, and grain elevators, the prairie skyscrapers.
Driving to the west, into the sunset, driving to the west. Driving to the west, into the sunset, driving to the west.
Oh wow, look at that. Here we are, in Jamestown, home to the National Buffalo Museum. And here they have a replica of a frontier village. Actually, the buildings are original, but they were brought here from different frontier villages in North Dakota.
Driving to the west.
Before we continue, let me tell you about Vessi, who is sponsoring this episode.
So Vessi makes 100% waterproof, snowproof, slush-proof, and slip-proof sneakers, so they keep your feet totally dry. They are made from Dymatex, which is a dual-climate knit material that keeps your feet cool in the summer and warm in the winter, and it really doesn't feel like it should be waterproof, but it is. Let me show you.
So we've come to this very remote area of Florida to test the waterproof capabilities of these new shoes.
As you can see, I'm immersing my foot in the water, and with any other shoe I would have wet socks by now.
Well, as you saw, I just immersed my foot in this little creek here, and look at that. If I could just show you, my feet are completely dry. This is amazing, amazing technology.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing some hikes this winter with my new Vessis. And what's great, they're also everyday shoes, so this may be the only pair I'll ever need while traveling. Vessi has an incredible early holiday sale right now, so use my link and grab yourself or a loved one a pair for the winter months while they still have sizes. After that, use my code ROBERT to get $25 off your next Vessi shoes.
All right, native wildflowers. This is the museum here. And here's a buffalo, but I'm assuming, oh, there's the large one. Okay, let's go see the largest buffalo.
Pioneer Church. Let's step inside.
Very musical.
Might need a little tuning.
Minotini Lutheran Church.
Here's the history of the church, originally built in 1881, and let's just walk around the pioneer village towards the buffalo, which is technically an American bison. And this is what happened. Early explorers, they thought the animals resembled the old world buffalo, so they called them that. And the name stuck to this day.
World's largest buffalo. And here it is. In fact, it is so large that I can walk under it.
It was created by sculptor Elmer Peterson in 1959, and it is made out of concrete.
Goodbye, buffalo. And apparently you can feed the buffalo, and funds raised will go to the maintenance and refurbishment of the world's largest buffalo. Apparently not many people are feeding the buffalo, because I don't know. Could use a coat of paint.
That's Jamestown. Check it out, real bison. Those are probably the ones you can feed. Not too many people here on a Thursday morning. It is almost noon, actually.
Let's check out the barber shop. There we go.
Actually, let's go inside the museum. They do have a movie explaining how the American bison almost became extinct as a result of overhunting, slaughter, and disease. And they have all kinds of exhibits about the natural history of the area.
Oh, what a view. Well, the bison are gone. There's the largest bison. The largest buffalo.
Let's look around the museum a little more. Ooh, that chair looks like some kind of torture device. They have some bison sculptures and paintings. Let's see what else they have. Ooh, a white bison. Those are supposed to be super rare.
Okay, look at that. Here we have a rare White buffalo. Look at that. It's okay, buddy. Don't worry. Okay. Well, this is the closest I'm ever going to be to a buffalo of any color.
Here we have some other preserved wildlife. We have a bison calf, a timber wolf, an Alaskan brown bear. They're actually cute when they're young. Here they have some more information about that rare white buffalo.
Museum exit. All right. Exit through the gift shop.
I see a t-shirt with my name on it.
Oh, this mask is starting to smell. Maybe I need a new one.
So that's where all the buffalo were hiding. Buffalo, bison, buffalo.
I thought they had like a white bison in here, but I guess it's just the one inside.
Well, there you have it. That was in the Buffalo Museum. I don't know if it's overpriced at $8. What do you guys think? But, you know, it's cool. It's cool to see it. And it's here. And they have the largest buffalo in the world. Go figure. Now let's do a nerdy thing before cruising through downtown. We're gonna what happened to my Android here? We're gonna go see a TV antenna because that's what you do. Actually, my favorite thing was the church. Let's take a picture of the. Oh wait, no, they have like an old truck there. And the caboose.
What is that cool-looking contraption? Let's drive through Jamestown real quick, and then we're going back east, but taking a different route through all these less trafficked roads, the blue highways. Hope, North Dakota. Population 258. It actually seems like a pretty nice town. Some good-looking houses. Can you imagine living in a town like this, where everybody knows your name? There it is, I can see it in the distance. That's our antenna. This is the KVLY-TV mast. It was the tallest man-made structure in the world from 1963, when it was built, until 1974, when it was surpassed by Warsaw Radio Mast, which collapsed in 1991, again making KVLY the tallest, until 2008, when it was topped by Burj Khalifa in Dubai. I doubt anyone's gonna surpass that one for a while. I still think this might be the tallest antenna mast currently in the world, and I've been looking forward to seeing it in person for a long time. Before Burj Khalifa, for sure. I probably could have gotten closer, but this is probably close enough. Alright, mission accomplished. Tomorrow we're going back to Minnesota, but we already saw that on the previous episode. Then, the day after tomorrow, we're coming back to North Dakota and continue exploring. Today we are re-entering North Dakota at a different point, much closer to the Canadian border, by the town of Drayton. And this is where the American Crystal Sugar Company is located, an area many RVers flock to once a year for work camping jobs at the sugar beet harvest. I thought about doing it some years back, actually. We are now almost at the northeasternmost part of the state. As we now turn left towards the west, it is almost perfectly flat. I mean, you can see for miles and miles ahead. Always fascinated by all this heavy equipment.
Yeah, this part has certainly exceeded my flatness expectations. And why am I taking this road? I don't know. I think this is where a YouTuber who did the beet harvest was staying at somewhere around here. So he would make this commute, which is what, 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes every day to where the pilers were. And for a while, as I said, I was thinking of doing it, so I did a lot of research on the sugar beet harvest.
In
That's
half a
something
mile,
that
continue straight onto 96th Street.
that's something that a lot of RVers tend to do.
As I said, I wanted to stop by this town called Hamilton. That's where some of the sugar beet harvest work campers are said to camp. Besides, to see what a small town up here looks like. And it is a mixture of some pretty nice houses actually, and some rundown structures like this church. There's the post office and the Hamilton Cafe, and onward we go, but it is sometimes cool to get off the highway and see some of the small towns. I'm gonna stop by this town here called Cavalier, and let's check it out. They have a rocket. Tell you what, I'm gonna park right here to have lunch.
Right here. Just up the road. It's a Spartan interceptor missile. It's usually windy in North Dakota, but not today.
Here, from this height, we can really appreciate how flat the terrain really is. And I am so glad I was able to make it all the way up here. There's the town, Cavalier, North Dakota.
Oh, that was a nice break. I had my TV dinner, I had some coffee, and now we're ready to tackle the next leg of the trip here. Very cool discovery, this little monument here in the middle of, I'm not gonna say the middle of nowhere, because this is somewhere. There's a grocery store here. If it is easy and convenient, I'm gonna stop real quick, and then I'll let you know where we're going. Right, pretty well stocked, actually very well stocked supermarket here. I mean, for such a small town. And you know, I got some onions and I got spinach, you know, a little bit of veggies. They didn't have anything organic, but I guess everything is organic around here. I don't know. But you know, onions, garlic, peppers, carrots, spinach. And where are we going next? Well, we're going to the Geographic Center of the of North America. And I was gonna go to that International Peace Garden right by the Canadian border, but apparently you have to go through border control on the way back, which wouldn't be a problem, except, you know, we are here in mid-August 2020. You know, the COVID pandemic, it's still going on. And you know, what if they make me quarantine or something? So, you know what? And I tried calling, and today's Saturday. They only open, the office only opens Monday to Friday, apparently. They're open today, but not the office, for like if you want to ask a question. So we're gonna keep going. There's a Harvest Hosts right next to the Geographic Center of North America, and I called, but they don't answer the phone. I don't know if they're closed today. It's a museum, and it's like a pioneer village of sorts. I'm gonna try showing up, see what happens. If not, well, we'll look for a plan B or a plan C. And there's always the Walmart at Minot, where we're going tomorrow anyways. How much is gas here? 209. Let's fill up, just to, you know, so we don't have to stop until we get there. Ooh, rough road. No, Minitini has the off-road tires, and the Colorado has 4 brand new tires. So we got pretty good grip and traction, and we'll be good. All right, let's fill her up. Lots of these Cenex gas stations here, all over Minnesota, North Dakota. Yeah, there's a song there somewhere. And 209, it says cash price. That's why it was 214 with a credit card. And yeah, so, as it is usually the case in these kind of rural places, and it doesn't get much more rural than this. They don't ask you for the zip code when you put gas with a credit card. Hold on, Mr. Berkey back there, you know, sometimes. Let's do this. All right, Mr. Berkey, you stay there and don't move.
Driving to the west, into the sunset, driving to the west. Driving to the west, into the sunset, driving to the west. Driving to the west, into the sunset, driving to the west. Driving to the west, into the sunset, driving to the west. Driving to the west.
Oh, I just noticed something that's really bad mileage. I guess we must be having some headwinds here. Yeah, we continue getting pretty poor mileage here. 7.8 miles per gallon as we go west here.
Driving to the west, into the sunset, driving to the
I
west.
wonder why the poor mileage. I mean, we must be getting pretty strong headwinds. That's my only explanation. I think I just killed a bird. The bird just hit my windshield and boom. Yeah. I'm sorry, bird.
An eternity later, here we are, Rugby, North Dakota, home to the Geographical Center of North America. Even though the location's accuracy is still in dispute, since there are several different ways by which they've tried to determine it. This is where they have the marker, so we'll go with that.
All right, here we are, Geographical Center of North America.
This is what we drove all this way for, the Geographical Center of North America. As you know, last year we went to the Geographical Center of the USA, which is in Lebanon, Kansas. Now we are in Rugby, North Dakota, and this is the one of North America. You know, it includes Mexico and Canada. So it's pretty, very cool to be here. And the nice couple that took my picture, they told me that the fairgrounds here. I was kind of worried. I was running out of gas. The first gas station was out of, it was closed. I was able to put gas, and I was worried about where to stay tonight. And we're gonna stay at the fairgrounds. Yeah.
Here we have a Mexican restaurant. Wouldn't it be appropriate if we also had a Canadian one?
Yeah, I could go for some poutine or anything with maple syrup.
Here's what I found for fairgrounds.
Colorado needs a new car wash. How many bugs did I kill today? Well, in any case, this is where we're staying here at the fairgrounds. Seems very nice, actually. I parked right next to the one picnic table they have. And look at this. These are hookups. I don't know for sure whether they have power. I should find out, but these are 30 amp hookups, all of this. And this on this side too. So, yeah, this is a 50 amp hookup. So, I don't know. I don't think I need hookups. So I'm not even gonna deploy my cable. And the temperature is very pleasant. And there's my only neighbor over there. That's actually the nice couple that took my picture at the Geographical Center. That's their rig. So yeah, this will be home for the night. And we have that huge grain elevator there. What is our destination?
Your destination is Prairie Village Museum.
Prairie Village Museum. That was my original plan. It's a harvest host, which I called yesterday, and yeah, and they never answered the phone. I got the voicemail. So that's why I decided to stay here.
In a quarter
instead.
mile, turn left onto North Dakota 3 South, 4th Avenue Southwest.
But now I'm gonna go because it is supposed to be, I still have like about 45 minutes to kill. Check-in is not until 3 p.m. at the KOA where I'm staying at. And it's just a 1 hour drive.
Okay, so it is through here. Apparently the couple with the casita was able to stay last night. even though it is closed.
I mean, who has a museum that is only open Monday through Friday? I don't think this place is open. I'll be back.
Yep, it is definitely closed on weekends.
I suppose I could have stayed here last night too, but you're supposed to call and ask and get permission. So I see these guys on the casita. They stayed here last night, so. And that's my only gripe with harvest hosts. You know, sometimes the schedule, doesn't work. A lot of places, they close on weekends or they close early. So
Sunflowers, as far as the eye can see. Here we are, Minot, North Dakota. We're gonna stay at the KOA. I've been dry camping for 2 nights, so I'm ready for full hookups, and we're gonna stay here for 2 nights as well. As it is customary with most KOAs, they are escorting me to my site.
Alright, very nice. It's kind of like a basic KOA, but very efficient, very good. The lady that manages the place, super nice. She told me about a bunch of things to do here in town. There's supposed to be a very good Irish pub, and there's a downtown pub district, so we're gonna go there. Here we go. This is it. Ebenezer's.
This is the place they recommended at the KOA. They gave me a Red Dwarf Sour Ale that is undrinkable, even though I asked for an IPA, but I also asked for something local, so I guess that's all they had. And here's my sandwich.
It's pretty good. It's called the Fat Frog or something like that sandwich. And here we are, back outside. I was gonna walk around, but I think I'm gonna do it in the car, see what else is around. Yeah, they have like this bar hopping tour of the whole downtown pub district.
Let's just drive around a little bit. Check out this small bridge. I guess it is a pedestrian bridge. Apparently part of the Minot River Walk, which is a 2.5-mile trail alongside the river. There's a brewery right here, but I'm not really in the mood right now, so let's start heading back. Ooh, apparently the river walk is actually that way.
Well, good morning. Late morning here, kind of, actually, but I'm gonna make a day trip about an hour south to the Missouri River, because I was reading Steinbeck, and on Travels with Charlie, he writes about the Missouri River. Here's where the map should fold. Here's the boundary between east and west. And he's talking about Bismarck. I'm not going to Bismarck until tomorrow, but it applies. On the Bismarck side, it is eastern landscape, eastern grass with the look and smell of Eastern America. Across the Missouri on the Mandan side, it is pure west with brown grass and water scorings and small outcrops.
To the left of the causeway, Lake Audubon, a national wildlife refuge. To the right, the much larger Lake Sakakawea, which is a reservoir on the Missouri River. And we're still in the land of sunflowers. And it is also starting to look a little bit like the West, just a little. We're gonna stop by Garrison Dam, which impounds the Missouri River here, creating Lake Sakakawea, actually the third largest reservoir in the United States. Let's park right here, right next to the dam, and take a break.
Very nice. Very pretty.
Lots of bugs, little tiny annoying bugs, but at least they don't bite. Steinbeck was right. Even though this is still technically the eastern side of the river, the landscape is starting to get that look that always puts a smile on my face. I've always been fascinated by dams and the great feat of engineering that they represent. The power to contain the formidable pressure of such a large body of water. Alright, scenic overlook. Let's check it out. Powerhouse. It is a hydroelectric power plant. Our next stop, the Knife River Indian Villages, or what's left of them, near Stanton. Here we are, Knife River Indian Villages, and this is an earth lodge reconstruction. That's how their dwellings used to look like. There is no one else right now, so let's go inside.
Right, this is pretty cool. So they would have a fire pit here in the middle, and then that's like a chimney. Of course, there's nothing like this left in real life. What we have now is like, I think it's ruins out there, but this is what they think, I guess, it would have looked like with all their artifacts and stuff. very cool. That's like saddles, I guess. And the door is skin, I guess. I don't know what kind of animal that is. I guess Lewis and Clark were here too. Those guys were everywhere, weren't they? Here we have some. It's a Haidatsa garden, so that's what their gardens would have looked like. All right, I don't know if I'm gonna do like the whole, like it's like a 1.5-mile trail, but I'll do as much as possible. Up to 10 to 20 people would live inside one of those earth lodges. Seems like a lot. I guess this would have been the site of one of those villages. I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's what it looks like from above. At the edge of a large village. It would be cool to fly the drone so we could see those, but this being a National Historic Site, probably not allowed to fly the drone here.
There. Yeah, you can kind of see it from this vantage point, the remains of what would have been earth lodges. We've reached the Knife River and the rest of the trail is closed due to bank erosion, and I was so looking forward to walking all the way up to the river. Oh well, we've got this view as a consolation prize, I guess.
No, that's it. I want my money back, which was free, by the way. Totally free to see this. All right, let's head back. Maybe the other trail, it's like a loop trail. It was a loop trail when it was open, so maybe the other side. There, you can kind of see it. Like, are we allowed to go off trail? I didn't ask. But look at this. This is like pretty big dip one here. And this whole thing would have been the site of, and there's another one, another one, and another one here. And all these would have been those earth lodges. Oh well, let's go back. Let's go see something else, which is not a whole lot today. I want to go back to Minot to see that Scandinavian Heritage Center. And I do believe that the other two places I wanted to see around here are closed today, because it's Monday, as I said. So we'll be back tomorrow. They have RV parking, so we'll leave early. We'll come with the trailer in tow.
Wonder what these are. Inside the visitor center, there is a museum with some artifacts and exhibits about what life must have been like in these villages. Corn seems to have been a staple crop.
All right, this was pretty interesting. One of those, points on, check marks on the map that you have to check off, if you come to North Dakota.
There's the Leland Olds Station, the coal power plant. The other places I wanted to visit in this area were the Lewis and Clark Interpretive Center at Washburn and Fort Mandan, but they're closed on Mondays. So welcome back tomorrow with Trailer in Tow. Now let's visit that Scandinavian Heritage Center back in Minot. always fascinated by the rural landscape. The wind turbines, crane elevators, large machinery. Here we are. The large wooden church gives it away.
Check it out. Well, the church closes at 4 p.m. So let's go to the church first and then we'll backtrack. Plaza Scandinavia and Observatory.
Remember when we saw one of these in Finland? In Oulu, I believe it was. The park honors the Scandinavian and Nordic ancestry of the region, with tributes and replicas from each of the 5 Scandinavian and Nordic countries: Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden.
Hello there. This is supposed to be Hans Christian Andersen, and as you know, so many stories. Man, he had a big nose. Look at that. All right, let's continue. We have all the flags of the Scandinavian countries, USA. They have the Canadian flag too. And here we have the Danish windmill, which we've seen one of these, you know where? In Solvang, California.
Yeah, remember Solvang? Cute Danish town in the Santa Ynez wine region.
Kind of hard to see with the sun behind it. But now somebody tell me, what's the difference between a Danish windmill and a Dutch windmill?
Beautiful, beautiful plants here in this garden. And here's a much better view of that Danish windmill.
Here's a statue of Icelandic explorer Leif Erikson. It is a lovely park, and we couldn't have asked for better weather. Let's go see the Gullstaff Church before they close. It is dedicated to the pioneer immigrants who uprooted themselves from Scandinavia to make new homes in North America. This type of wooden Christian churches date back to the medieval period. The original one was located in Gull, Norway, and it was dated to around the year 1200 by using the 3 rings to determine its age. The original church was later moved and rebuilt near Oslo, and this particular life-size replica was dedicated here in the year 2000. It is quite impressive.
Beautiful woodwork. Here I believe she said this was pine mostly, and there is a replica of full-size replica of the Gullstaff Church.
This is the Dala horse, the most recognized Swedish symbol in the world.
Dala horse. And the church.
back there. All right, we continue, and unfortunately, the only thing open is the church. All these other structures are closed because of COVID. I guess the church is the only one because they have more room inside, I suppose. So this is called Stabber, a replica of the cottage from Torbenton farm.
Apparently, these are used to provide safe, dry storage for food and other commodities. This particular one is a replica of one built around 1775.
Well, let me tell you something. Scandinavians are generally tall people. So I wonder why the very short door here. I don't know. More research shall go into this. This is the Sondre Norheim Eternal Flame.
Apparently, the 5 aluminum skis represent the 5 Scandinavian nations. Let's finish with a Finnish sauna. See what I did there? And out of the 5 countries here, Finland is perhaps the most familiar to me personally. We spent some time there in 2018 and we enjoyed our time tremendously. And the Finnish people, they are great.
Definitely a Finnish tradition. And the real Finns, I hear they go completely naked. And then they jump in a freezing lake. I felt tempted, but it was a little bit out of my comfort zone. Maybe next time we go to Finland. But for now, let's go someplace else.
Okay, we've got one more thing today. We're gonna go to North Dakota's first winery. How about that? I don't know why, but I get the feeling that the winery is closed.
Yeah, apparently they are closed. Oh well.
Big bummer because it is beautiful out here. Are they harvesting the grapes, you think? Well, in any case, let's continue.
Oh well. Epic fail. Let's go back to the RV park. To the campground. To the KOA. It is time for another RV cooking show. I'm starving, so we're gonna make some stew. It's gonna take about an hour. I might even go to Walmart while the meat cooks there. So yeah, let's put it on saute. I'm gonna use a little bit of olive oil, and we're gonna saute the meat a little bit, brown it on all sides, and then we're gonna add some onions and garlic and green peppers, the whole IPA, and we're gonna pressure cook it for half an hour or so. And then we're gonna add the potatoes and the carrots.
Let's chop the onions, start browning the meat, salt and pepper. I'm gonna crush and peel some garlic and mince the garlic. Now a whole green pepper. That's a lot of green pepper, but it doesn't matter. It'll give it a great flavor. 420 IPA, and I'm gonna use the whole thing. A dash of tomato sauce, smoked paprika, oregano, and just a dash of cumin. I'm gonna be adventurous and add a little bit of coriander and turmeric, some vino seco cooking wine, a little bit of sriracha to give it a little kick. High pressure for 35 minutes.
I went to Walmart while this was cooking, so let me get all this stuff out, and then we'll add the potatoes, the carrots, and some celery, and we're good. I'm thinking maybe I overdid it. We'll see. And we've got more. Let's see. Ta-da! Now we can put the Instant Pot wherever we want.
do the celery, the carrots, the potatoes, 15 minutes later, voila!
That came out outstanding.
And just like that, another day comes to an end here in Minot, North Dakota, right on the edge of that fold on the map, where the Great Plains give way to an increasingly rugged terrain.
Alright, on the road again.
Today we're going back south, roughly the same route we took yesterday, kind of retracing our steps, but now with the trailer in tow, going a little farther south towards Washburn, actually kind of following in Lewis and Clark's footsteps. Here we are.
So it is the North Dakota Lewis and Clark Interpretive Center. Here we've got some bison. Washburn Discovery Trail. I don't think we're gonna do this one today.
Let's go into the Interpretive Center and learn a little more about Lewis and Clark. Greeting us at the entrance, we encounter this statue depicting Meriwether Lewis, William Clark, and Mandan Chief Sheheki, who later traveled with Lewis and Clark back to Washington to meet President Thomas Jefferson. Let's learn more about this fascinating expedition. They have all kinds of artifacts, depictions of the Earth Lodge villages of the Mandan, what a trading room might have looked like,
which we saw in every direction, feeding on the hills and plains.
Nitric gas, October 24th, 1804. We set out early in the cloudy morning. At 9 it began to rain and continued to rain for an hour. At 12 we came to a hunting party of the Mandan Nation of Indians and remained with them until 2 and then continued our voyage. There were 3 lodges of these Indians on the island, which has been cut off the Grand Bend a short distance below the Mandan village.
Alright, the museum was okay. I bought a t-shirt and now we're gonna go to the fort, which is 2 miles that way. And she said that there was RV parking, so.
Alright, let's go find the fort. And then we can go to Bismarck and find the place to boondock.
If all fails, boondocking wise, there's a Walmart, there's a casino. There's 2 Walmarts. So let's see if we can find the fort. By the way, it was $8 for the museum and to visit now the fort.
That's the Missouri River.
Very nice, very well organized, everything. And which, by the way, I don't think they're state parks, so the annual national park pass would not apply here. Oh, check it out, that's the fort right there.
This is a full-size replica of the fort in which the Lewis and Clark expedition overwintered in 1804 and 1805. It was here that they met and built friendships with many important people, most prominently Sacagawea, the Shoshone woman who served as their translator and diplomat for the rest of the expedition. This would have been the blacksmith's forge, and I really like the way they have recreated every room the way it would have looked at the time. It puts into perspective what an incredible undertaking it must have been, this expedition into the unknown. This, by the way, would have been the captain's quarters. Lastly, the soldiers' quarters. And that was Fort Mandan. The American flag, by the way, at the time had 15 stripes and 15 stars. But the fort alone was probably worth the $8. And yeah, very cool. I like when they make reproductions like that. And they have a dozen there, yeah, Ranger. And if you have any questions, and he'll explain, everything. Let's walk towards the river. And this giant statue of a dog, which is none other than Seaman, Lewis's Newfoundland dog. Then there is this nice trail along the bank of the Missouri. So let's walk a little bit, even though it is unseasonably warm today in North Dakota, even here in the middle of August. So many grasshoppers.
It is really hot in North Dakota today. The car says 86, but it probably feels like something in the 90s. I don't know. It hasn't. Maybe I'm not used to it anymore. Oops, I forgot to retract my steps. Hold on a second.
Our next stop is Fort Abraham Lincoln State Park, near Mandan, right across the Missouri River from Bismarck, which is the state capital. Let me tell you, I am liking the change of scenery more and more.
Apparently I could have camped here too, but hold on, I have no idea where I'm going. Visitor center, okay, let's go that way.
This is very nice. Maybe I'll spend the night here. Let's stop by the visitor center first. Here they have a small museum about the Mandan people that inhabited this area and their Earth Lodge villages. Also, more recent events like the construction of Garrison Dam, which caused the relocation of the Mandan, along with Norwegian and German immigrants. The main thing here seems to be the on a slant Indian village. It is a partial reconstruction of an Earth Lodge village, originally built on a sloping plain towards the river. Apparently, in 1781, there was a smallpox epidemic that decimated the village, and the survivors ended up joining the Hidatsa by the Knife River, the ones we saw yesterday. So, by the time Lewis and Clark got here, this was already abandoned and in decay. Let's step inside one of the earth lodges. Very similar to the Hidatsa.
Check it out. You can see the state capital from here. Actually, it probably would have been a good idea to camp here for the night. The campground seems nice, right next to the water. I'm gonna see if I can go check it out. Now I remember, I was listening to the Amateur Traveler podcast, and they mentioned this trolley that goes comes from Mandan all the way here, and now coming up next it should be the campground and then the river, I think. Let's see if they have any sites right on the river. It is a pretty huge campground. Actually, I'm gonna see if they have this site available for tonight, and if they do,
any of these sites would be great, right here, by the confluence of the Missouri and the Heart.
well, I decided to stay here. I just made a reservation online, and maybe I'll do a little bit of a hike before. I got a primitive site, by the way. But it's shaded, and it's gonna get cooler as the day progresses, I hope.
Yeah, famous last words. Get cooler. What was I thinking? The ranger is going to think I'm crazy. First I come in for day use, then I decide to camp at a primitive site in 90-degree weather. And this is the thing, all the riverfront sites are primitive, and I became enamored with the idea of camping next to the water.
There you go. I was totally prepared to dry camp tonight, to boondock, but I'm dry camping. There are no hookups at this campsite. At the state park here, it's 17 plus taxes. It comes up to like $22.80 or something like that. But we're right here, riverfront. And it is a lovely site. A little warm right now, but it'll cool down.
Where's a friend with a pontoon boat when you need one? That looks like a nice sandbar. If I only had some kind of watercraft, but I left the banana boat back in Florida.
Okay, so I only made one mistake. I didn't check the weather, and it's probably like the hottest day in North Dakota ever. It's like 95 degrees, it feels like 98.
Yeah, let's go for a little hike because it is very hot inside the trailer. Let's check out what's left of the cavalry post here. This is supposed to be the granary. And this is the house where Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer and his wife Libby lived from 1873 until Custer died at the Battle of the Little Big Horn. Apparently, sometimes they have tours, but in August of 2020 here, this is the best I can do.
I think I did the trail backwards.
Apparently, I was supposed to start on this side, and everything seems to be closed today. I don't know if it is related to the virus, but it is so beautiful here. These are supposed to be the barracks.
Okay, let's see if we can get in the water. I found some beach access here. It's just a little bit cold. Let me rephrase that. It is really cold.
Good morning. It is such a privilege to wake up to a sunrise like this and be able to see it right from my backyard with nature's soundtrack in the background.
Well, good morning. If it wasn't for the heat wave we experienced yesterday, this was actually an awesome camping site.
Head south toward Fort Lincoln Road, then turn right onto Fort Lincoln Road.
Well, greetings from, we're going to Bismarck real quick, just to see the Capitol building up close. And then we're heading west to Medora.
That to the right is the North Dakota Veterans Cemetery. Now crossing the Missouri River onto the Bismarck side. And as it is our tradition, we are going to pay a visit to the state's capital, even if this time we don't really venture inside.
Well, I certainly didn't expect to find parking so easily or readily available. But since we're here, let's just walk around the grounds a little bit, see what's going on. And I don't think I'm gonna go in.
Well, yeah, every Capitol building seems to be under construction these days.
Well, my luck here, the grounds, at least this part of the grounds here, seems to be under construction. And they do have tours. They have like a COVID screening thing going on. And to be honest, I'm just gonna see it from the outside. And then continue. There's a statue. There's a famous statue somewhere here on the grounds that I want to see.
This is not the statue I was looking for, but it's quite nice. I betcha those red flowers read North Dakota from above.
Yeah, it might be cool to fly the drone and see that North Dakota garden sign, topiary, from the air.
Let's be honest, it is not the prettiest of Capitol buildings, but it's still really cool to be here and see it. Not too many people have been here. This is the least visited state in the whole USA after all. Here's a statue honoring the pioneers of the Great Northwest. And this one is called the Pioneers of the Future. Oh, Train de la Reconnaissance Française, the French Gratitude Train, which came from France in 1949 with 49 boxcars, one for each state at the time plus the District of Columbia.
Check it out.
That's a cool bison sculpture.
Jeez.
Yep, this is the statue I was looking for. It is none other than Sacagawea, or Sacagawea as it is also spelled and pronounced, who, as I mentioned earlier, was an integral part of the Lewis and Clark expedition. The statue actually modeled after one of her descendants. We are crossing the Missouri River once again, going west. And we'll cross it one more time in about a month when we visit Kansas City, but right now, the West is calling. Someone recommended the restaurant inside this Flying J truck stop, so that's where I'm gonna have lunch. It is called Rolling Hills, and they serve a North Dakota specialty called Nepfla soup, brought to the state by German immigrants. Now, yesterday, before I decided to stay at Fort Abraham Lincoln, my plan was to boondock, and I had found these 2 free campsites using freecampsites.net. Great resource, by the way. And now we're just gonna stop by real quick to see if they are for real, for future reference. The first one is called Crown Butte Lake. I think this is it. Yes, this would have definitely worked last night. Very, very good spot for a quick overnight. Let's continue. The other potential boondocking spot is across this lake here to the right. This one is called Sweetbriar Lake Recreation Area. I already see an RV parked over there, so this would have worked out quite nicely as well. And I'd say even better, since I wouldn't have been all by myself. It looks like they have toilets and dumpsters. Very nice. Our next point of interest, the Enchanted Highway. But I'm gonna take a detour so we're gonna do it backwards, really, south to north. And the idea is to have the sun behind us. What I didn't take into account was that the pavement would eventually devolve into this dirt road. I mean, it's not that bad, and Minitini II has the lift kit and the all-terrain tires, but still, everything's gonna get dirty. And we're back on pavement. And we're back on dirt. This is technically the end of the Enchanted Highway, and here's the gift shop.
Guess I didn't know you had a...
Oh wow, it moves! That's pretty cool and quite ingenious actually. I went into the gift shop and I even met the artist, Gary Greff, and he actually told me about the button that you have to press.
Well, went in there, met the artist. They actually gave me this nice guide, and they said that there's one more attraction a couple of blocks that way. I need to put gas anyway, so that's what I'm gonna do. And then we'll take the Enchanted Highway, and we'll try to see as much as possible. I have no idea what's the latest I can arrive at the campground. So let's see. I was tempted to ask him if he wanted to do like a quick interview or something, but you know, he seemed busy. And
here it is, the Enchanted Castle. It is actually a hotel, and it is the newest attraction here. There's a dragon guarding the castle and the knight, I guess.
Enchanted Castle.
I was greeted by a very unwelcoming gentleman. I mean, he made me feel like I was trespassing, so I left. Onward we go.
Here we are.
This one is called Tin Family, erected in 1991. And that's a large contraption going down the road. This, by the way, was the first of all the sculptures we're going to see. It is so beautiful out here. I just love how the terrain is subtly changing. This one is called Teddy Rides Again from 1993, and it is a tribute to Theodore Roosevelt's part in North Dakota's history. Wow, these are pretty big. This one is called The Pheasants on the Prairie from 1996, and this one took 3 years to complete. And I see the farther north we go, the more impressive, the more polished the craft. There's the next one. It is called Fisherman's Dream from 2006. I'm telling you, they are getting more and more elaborate. And I just remembered I have a drone, and there are no flight restrictions, so I'm gonna fly around a little bit. This one is quite good, actually. We have bass, walleye, catfish, salmon, blue gull, and a 70-foot-long rainbow trout jumping out of the water. This one coming up next is called Grasshoppers in the Field from 1999. They are a reminder of the hardships farmers have to overcome while making their living off the land. We are reaching the end, or the beginning rather, of the Enchanted Highway. This one is called The Deer Family from 2002. There it is, Geese in Flight from 2001, right on I-94. This one is actually in the Guinness World Book of Records as the largest scrap metal sculpture in the world.
Well, the Enchanted Highway, very, very cool. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. You know, I thought it would be like,
In a quarter mile, turn left onto 100.5 Avenue.
I don't know what I was thinking. But in any case, listen to that washboard. I need to put a post-it note here somewhere, a sign somewhere in the car, like a reminder. Hello, you have a drone, use it often. Because sometimes, you know, I forget to fly the drone, and it would have been cool to fly it at every single one of these. Well, what have you? Hold on.
We have reached the North Dakota Badlands, and we're gonna spend a couple of days here exploring them. But more about that on the next episode as we continue.
Driving to the west, into the sunset, driving to the west. Driving to the west, into the sunset, driving to the west. Driving to the west.
Isn't that a beautiful sight right there? Well, hello, pelican heads. We've made it. I gotta show you. Greetings from the west. I just want to leave you with this grand view of the North Dakota Badlands. So until the next one, thank you so much for everything. Thank you for watching, and see you on the road, which today has finally brought us to the west.
I'm riding in my